Hi, I'm Stephanie Jaworski of joybaking.com. Today we're going to make a pumpkin bread. What I really like about this pumpkin bread is how it has a layer of cream cheese filling in the center. So to start, preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 180 degrees Celsius. And then you will need two, because we're going to make two pumpkin breads at once. So you will need two loaf pans, and you need to butter and flour them, or you could spray them with one of those cooking sprays that has the flour in it. But if you want to butter and flour, which I'm doing here, just take a little bit of butter and just really make sure you butter the whole inside of your pan. And then just take a little flour and then just kind of swirl it around. I usually do this over the sink, but I've got a piece of parchment here. And then just tap it out, the excess flour. And there you have it. So those are our two pans. So now, the first thing I'm going to show you what to do is the cream cheese filling. So you will need, I'm just going to do this with a hand mixer. You could do it in your food processor. Now if you use your food processor, be very careful not to over process and make it really thin, because you don't want that. So take 8 ounces of cream cheese, that's 227 grams, and have that at room temperature. And then I'm just going to process this until it's nice and creamy and smooth, or beat it, I should say. Okay, and next I'm going to add 1/3 cup, that's 65 grams of granulated white sugar, and just beat that in. And then 1 large egg, and have that at room temperature. Just beat it until it's nice and creamy and smooth. Okay, and that's that. As you can see, it's still quite thick. That's the way you want it. So be very careful if you use your food processor not to over process that. Okay, so we'll just put that aside. So now for our dry ingredients, this is for your pumpkin bread batter. In a large bowl, put 3½ cups, that's 425 grams of all-purpose white flour, or sorry, that's 450 grams. And then we have to put in 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, 1/2 teaspoon of salt. I like to use a kosher salt. 1½ teaspoons of ground cinnamon, and then I'm putting in just 1/4 teaspoon of ground ginger, and I like cloves, so I'm putting in 1/8 teaspoon of ground cloves. Now you could adjust your spices if you, like some people do not like ground cloves, so you could just leave that out. So I'll just put all that in there. And I'm just using a wire whisk. I mean, you could use your electric stand mixer for this, but I mean, it's a quick bread, so you can easily do it by hand. And then I'm adding 1/2 cup, 120 milliliters of chopped nuts. I'm using walnuts, pecans, or almonds, or even hazelnuts would be very nice. And then I'm also adding 1/2 cup of 120 milliliters of dark chocolate chips. Now, you could either just use 1 cup of chocolate chips or 1 cup of nuts, or you could even put some dried fruit in there. Really just tailor it to what you like. So, and for our wet ingredients, in another large bowl, I have 4 large eggs, and have those at room temperature. And then just take a wire whisk and just beat those, break them up. And then add 1 teaspoon of pure vanilla extract and 2 cups, that's 400 grams of granulated white sugar. Just whisk that in. And then I have here 1 cup, 225 grams of butter I melted and then let it cool to room temperature. You don't want it hot. I've used unsalted butter. I prefer the flavor, but you could use salted, either one. And then whisk that in, along with a 1/2 cup, 120 milliliters of water. I guess you could use milk, but I'm just using water. And just whisk that. As you can see, this is a really easy batter. And I like that it makes 2 loaves because you could, eat one now and then freeze the other one for later. And you can freeze it for probably 2-3 months. Okay, and our last ingredient, of course it's a pumpkin bread, is you need 1 15-ounce can of pure pumpkin or pumpkin puree. That's 425 grams. Now you want to buy the pumpkin that doesn't have any spices in it, because we did add our own spices, so just make sure you buy the right type. I do have instructions in the head note for if you want to actually make your own pumpkin puree. And then just mix that in. Move this out of the way. Okay, so now what we're going to do is add our wet to our dry. Just stir it in until everything's moistened. Okay, so that's our batter. So now, because we are going to we got to divide the batter between 2 pans. What I like to do is just take 2 bowls. Just make sure you get to the bottom of your batter to make sure that you get all that flour, and then just divide it evenly between the 2 bowls. Kind of eyeball it. Of course, you could get your scale out. I mean, if you want it to be very accurate here. Okay. That looks pretty good. So now we got our 2 pans and we got our 2 of batter. So because we want to put a layer of the cream cheese filling in the center, what we're going to do is just take half of this batter for each pan. So you want a nice thick layer on the bottom. Half out of here. Okay, looks about right. Then got our cream cheese filling. We'll divide that between the two. Again, I'm just eyeballing this. Not that critical. And then you can just take the back of a spoon, or I'm using an offset spatula. Spread your. The reason you don't want to over process this filling, because if you do, then you may find it kind of just melts into the pumpkin bread to the batter as it bakes, which, I mean, taste-wise, it's fine, but you won't see that. Normally with this, when you cut into it, you'll see a little vein of white in the center. It really adds a lot, I think, to the flavor of the bread. So now, what I find the best way to put the top layer, the rest of the pumpkin batter, is to just use 2 spoons and to place small dollops. And then just take your spoon and then just smooth it out. So, and do the same thing for the other one. So now we're going to put them in the oven somewhere between 55 and 65 minutes, just until a toothpick is inserted into the center, comes out clean. Okay, so our pumpkin breads are now done. A toothpick insert into the center. Make sure you just put it into the bread, not down into the cream cheese, so it will come out clean. So now I'm just going to let them cool on the wire rack for maybe 10-15 minutes, and then we'll take them out of the pan. Okay, now to take your pumpkin bread out of the pan, take either a knife or I've got a flat spatula here. Just run it on the inside, just in case the bread did stick to the sides of the pan. And then on your rack, so, and then turn it right side up. Okay, so now I'm going to let these cool a little more. They're still quite hot. And then I'll cut one and show you the inside. So as you can see, I've cut into the pumpkin bread. You can see the vein of the cream cheese running through it. So you can cover and store the pumpkin bread in the refrigerator for probably 4 or 5 days, or like I said, you can freeze them for several months. So until next time, I'm Stephanie Jaworski of joyofbaking.com.